I'm gonna add a ring. I'll put a ring right here. So ring and pigtails. I've got a piece of wire that is long enough and then some. We always need extra wire to compensate for pigtails and the wire that it takes to make those loops. Start with a bird. All of my pigtails are here. That means all of my birds are here. So you just stick the wing inside, the head should be outside. Squeeze the head. Squeeze it shut on the sides like this. After that, top and bottom, get right in there. I'm holding on to the wing. There we go. And I don't stop squeezing until it's nice and flat and smooth here. Move it down where I want it. Even if I've got a really tight connection here, as I start wiggling and shaping, it starts to loosen up and slide, so we can tape it in place. I'm not going to worry about it because I'm about to wrap it, so I think I'll be all right. Got a Sharpie here. So the next thing I need to do is figure out the shape right here. What is the shape? This shape should make sense with this ring and all the other rings. This ring is just defining the skin, defining the exterior volume. So it should be shaped similar to the one next to it. Remember here, we spend a lot of time eyeballing, like the distance, it should all make sense. When I look down here, this one shouldn't pop out too far. It shouldn't look odd. It should all make sense when you look at the edges. And then my spacing here, it shouldn't look too tight, too far away. At this point, it's just sort of holding itself in place for me. So this is where I want to connect. We put the pliers back a little, about 1/8 of an inch. We push against the thumb. I'm pushing against the thumb and also trying to thread the wire through at the same time. If I could just keep my hands on the pliers, it's a little easier. The black mark is still on the top. Squeeze it in half. You can even get on the other side. It's like you're making a pigtail. Over here. Lay it flat right here too. And then again, we want it to be really flat, just like this one. And we can curve that. We'll end with a pigtail. But before that, I'd like to do the other side. I want it to match. Here we go. Down like this. I want these two to match. I want them to match in length and shape, so I could curve this a little more. Give it a little more shape. And then I like to use my finger a lot to measure the length. This is what's going to help make it look more symmetrical. I think it's about here, so I mark it. And then I can just relax. I know this is where I want to bend it, but I can just double check my measurement. I just use my finger. I think it's pretty close. I think it's too long. All right, so I can make a new Sharpie mark. I think it's really about here. Then I'll hold it in place and just double check. It can't hurt to just keep double checking. Okay. So I'm actually going to bend right on the original Sharpie mark. Push against my thumb. You might have to stop and use your hand to spread it through. Go right back to where the pliers were. There we go. Squeeze it across. Make sure it's where I actually want it to be. Squeeze again right here and then send it over. Use the pliers. You'll have a nice small connection there. There we go. Those two look good. And now I'll let you watch one pigtail. So So I'm going to move one piece of wire out of the way so you can just watch this one. So before I do anything, shape this so it makes sense with the other rings. And then placement. I want it to make sense here, right about here. And then I only need about a half an inch. So about there. Also, I'm going to give it a little space there. Bend it over. I'll let this pigtail come down. Give it a squeeze on the other side. First we squeeze it here. Then we squeeze it over here. And the pliers parallel with this wire. But it's not actually on it. It shouldn't be clamping it like that. Like this. You give it a squeeze. The tail moves over more. Get your finger under it. See that placement? When I squeeze the pliers, it just forces the wire to close for me. Then I can get behind it right here. Sometimes you just have to get creative. But the idea is that you squeeze the wire, a little close right there. You squeeze the wire and then you let go and you move your hand and squeeze it some other way. Right in there. And then at the last minute, you should be able to close it right up. As long as you can make a tight pigtail, they can be 1.5 loops. They don't need to be, 3 loops. And then this one is going to go right here. It's not going to go down here. If it's too low, the line just doesn't look very fluid. If we put it right on top, put the other line here, the line's pretty fluid. Pigtail up there. Hope it helps.